Well, it's the second day of March 2022. It's a beautiful Wednesday, and of course, the AM side of broadcast. This is Open Parliament live on the frequency of Family Love 99.9 FM. And don't forget, you can listen to the program on ABN Radio and TV, as well as Magic 102.9 FM in the commercial nerve center of the state, talking about ABBA. I'm yours truly. My name is Mr. C. You know what we do every Wednesdays on Open Parliament? We have as our guest every other Wednesday. I'm talking about an Interpol consultant and security expert. Also, recipients of the Zig Award on Innovation and Creativity in the person of Sir Chikwe Udensi. Delighted to have you live in the studios this morning on the program, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. C. Thanks for having me again.
Well, the last time we had you virtual, you were speaking all the way from the United Arab Emirates, Dubai precisely. And incidentally, from the last time I saw you, you're looking fitter.
Yeah, I lost some weight. I went to do some little bit of checkup. I did some physicals to make sure that my health is good, which is very, very important. From time to time, after some age, some level of age, you must have to ensure that you are very safe health-wise. So I realized that there was a few problems, you know. My sugar was getting a bit high. My cholesterol was getting a bit high too. So I was told it's all about carbohydrates. You see, there's too much of carbohydrates in our food, Mr. C. Rice, yam, gari, too much carbohydrate. Then we eat a lot of bread. So these are all carbohydrate related, and carbs are a lot of problems. So I realized my sugar was high. I was surprised, you know. I had done a few tests here in Nigeria before I traveled. My sugar was a little normal. But when I went there for proper checks, maybe the equipments we're using here, maybe the chemicals we're using here.
So are you saying when you did those tests in Nigeria, some of those things were not detected?
They weren't detected. I was surprised. We had to redo the test. It's a specialist hospital. It's called Tombe University Teaching Hospital. It's a hospital where the best. In fact, that's where we have medical tourism right now in Dubai. Tombe Medical Center, very beautiful place. So the equipments are superb. So they did another test to reconfirm that the test they did was the right one, and I had to be put on some diet.
Okay.
Not too much of carbohydrates anymore.
I thought you had to hit the gym too.
Yes, I had to. Well, I used to usually take 30 to 40 minutes walk every morning.
Okay.
But now I'm going to make it about an hour to make sure that I get back to normal shape.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
This is one thing we must have to do. I understand Lagos State government is doing it. Lagos State government from time to time check up the well-being of their employees. Right at work. Right at work. I remember police introduced it some time ago, where policemen at work, you check their vital signs, check their BP, check their sugar, and also check a few things. We're not doing it. So many people will wait until they get sick before they go to the hospital. It's not right. People should make sure they check themselves up. If I had not checked and saw that my sugar was getting a bit high, I probably would have waited for it to get very bad and then become diabetic before taking care of it. But now, thank God I'm not diabetic. It was only going high, so we had to use diet to bring it down. We thank God for His mercies.
Awesome. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Once again. Oh, well, interesting issues in the past couple of days, particularly the one which you've harped on, and Nigerians too, keeping their fingers crossed and hoping that the president was going to append his signature to. Incidentally, that was positive as far as Nigerians were concerned. And that's talking about the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which the president signed into law recently. Well, we'll talk about that. And of course, I'm sure you're going to dissect some of the very impactful and hopefully impactful sections of that law. But the National Assembly has been going through what they call constitutional review, and some very interesting work being put in by lawmakers, right? Particularly the one that has to do with autonomy for the judiciary and the local government. You've been in the local government system. I recollect as a Secretary General of Argon.
Yes, I was Argon Secretary.
How does this make you feel? Local government autonomy. It's been a debate for a long time now.
Yeah, first of all, let me congratulate this National Assembly. This National Assembly has done a great deal of work. What they have done has sizably impacted on the society enormously. And I'm so happy about also the having approved right now, the past, that we should amend the joint account of the local government. You know, that's the major one. It is called a joint account, JAC, where all monies meant for local governments are sent to the state for onward sharing. That has created an enormous problem. I was Secretary General for 6 years. I ran 774 local governments for 6 years. I was on the front row and I found out what the problem was. I attended JAC and it was very disturbing. What we had in that local government system then when I was in charge was that very close to 34 out of the 36 states, only 34 were not remitting local government funds to them. It was only Katsina and Enugu states that were allowing their funds to go to them. Other local government, up till now, I'm told, no local government, 774 local government, get their monies. It's unfortunate. What happens is that once this money gets into the joint state account, the states will use it for purposes other than what it is meant for. It will be mainly to go into other uses other than going for local government development. That is why you see there is so much problems in local government. Lack of payment of salaries, no infrastructural development in local government. So I'm happy, extremely happy that the National Assembly have decided to say, we have to change this. Local governments must get their funds directly, not through any state arrangement, a joint account arrangement. So this is very, very interesting. But do not forget that this is not the last thing. Now the National Assembly has approved. It has to go to the state. We must have to have 2/3 of the states agreeing before it becomes law. Because before the amendment is effectively concluded. So it is still a long way. You know very well that we have very recalcitrant governors. We have all kinds of horrible governors whose interest is personal. They don't have the interests of the society at heart.
Because I was going to ask that. I mean, there's always been this argument of Nigeria being a country with so many laws. In fact, some would say maybe no need still to make subsequent laws because we have in place laws that would govern virtually everything we need in terms of the sectors of the economy. Now, what do you make of that argument now in the sense of hopefully, just like you mentioned, if this goes through to 1/3 of the houses of assembly and it becomes law, do you see this seeing the light of the day?
Of course it has to see the light of the day. If it becomes law, then it's enforceable. Most of the problems we have with numerous laws we have is that they are very obsolete. Look at the firearms law. The firearms law is 1958 firearms law. It has not changed yet. You see, life is dynamic. There are several changes that goes with every day. You will recall that I went to Dubai for us to check on new crimes. Criminals invent new things every day. So once they invent new things, we should also invent solutions for those new crimes. The crimes you see today is not what we had yesterday. So as these laws remain permanent and then crime is changing, it becomes a problem. So we must have to ensure that we change the laws as the crime changes. There are so many of these laws where you have to pay 2 naira as a penalty. Some are where you have to pay 5 naira as a penalty. And there's some of them, there's one we saw the other day. Somebody was alleged to have embezzled 450 million. They were found guilty. And then the judge said she was constrained by the provisions of the law. You are found guilty to have stolen 450 million. The penalty is 1 million naira. So you're encouraging such crimes to go ahead. So we must have to, from time to time, ensure that we change our laws. As the events change, as crime changes, the laws should change. That's the most of the problem. So the legal review machinery that was initially set up by, I think it was Adoke, the Attorney General.
Yeah.
I think it went moribund. I don't know what happened.
The then Attorney General.
The then Attorney General. That legal review, we have to comprehensively review our laws to make sure that they meet the current trends. Things change every day. Lives change, patterns change, crime changes. And as they change, we should change the laws to suit what it ought to be. But that's exactly where the problem lies. So we have so much laws, but they're not implementable. They're not enforceable. And when you can't enforce a law, it's no law. And a law you can't enforce cannot be law. It is something else.
Okay, so we're going to be keeping an eye on that, definitely. Yeah, but still talking about laws. Now, after heightened anxieties over the fate of the reworked Electoral Act Amendment Bill, particularly as the 2023 elections approaches, the President, Muhammadu Buhari, on Friday signed the said bill into law. How does this make you feel? Nigerians had been apprehensive. Would he sign? Would he not? I mean, going by the precedent that had been set by the president already, where this was transferred to him by the National Assembly, and he rejected it.
Well, Mr. C, you know I'm one of those who was very apprehensive, given what has happened previously. I was one of those I wrote several letters to the presidency. I made several comments, the social media, the print media, and the electronic media. I was insisting that the president ought to sign the law, especially the Electoral Act law. The amendment was very important, especially where it has to do with the automatic transfer of results from the polling unit to the center. Because we know that over 80% if you can even say 95% of the fraud associated with the electoral process are done at the collection centers. So we were happy that the president signed the law, and we are so happy. And we are one of those who sent him immediate congratulatory message. Though they never responded back to me, but I sent him one to tell him I congratulated him. That law now makes it possible for us not to have more than 10 registered voters vote in a place where the number of registered voters are 10. If it is 20, it ought to be 20. If it is 30, it ought to be 30. But the previous arrangement where we had, after the elections, they go to a collection center, somebody will maybe garner 120 votes, and the next minute you see 2,000 votes given to him. This is where the problem lies. And I'm happy this electoral law will cop that arrangement. But don't forget, there are so many more laws that were also in the passage, especially the one that has to do with funding of the elections. Before now, INEC have had serious constraints, financial constraints, when it has to do with implementation of its projects. Sometimes we knew that some temporary staff of INEC were not paid their allowances. Even the process of transporting them from one point to another was a problem. because INEC did not have enough funding. But with this law now being signed in, government is mandated by law to provide 100% of the funds required for INEC to operate within 1 year. 1 year notice. You must have to provide those funding to ensure that it goes on very well with INEC. That's very, very important. And without funding, the activity of INEC cannot go smoothly. And without funding, you leave INEC to the whims and caprice of criminally minded politicians who would like to sabotage the process by bringing their own funding.
Yeah, so we'll still dissect some of the sections of the said law. But Nigerians were, or should I say, we found it interesting where the president expressed reservations in the process of signing the law, particularly about Section 84, subsection 12 of the new law, which bars political appointees from voting or be voted for in political parties, congresses, and conventions. And he didn't stop at that. He asked the National Assembly to delete that section of the new law. What's your take on that?
Well, you know that we were told, very reliably too, that some members of this serving government were interested in running for public office. So they felt that they should remain in office until such a time when they run for office. They can use the paraphernalia of office, they can use public funds to run their security, run their vehicles, run all their infrastructure that has to do with electioneering. It is not fair. We must have to have a level playing field for everybody. If you suggest that because you're in government, therefore you use all the infrastructure that will enhance you becoming more successful than the other, then what it means is that the level playing field is not there. However, I'm concerned about making it only for public appointees. Why not make it for everybody? Why not for everybody? All public office holders, not civil servants, public political appointees. A governor, when he goes for re-election, he uses all the paraphernalia of office. There are policemen everywhere. There are security operatives everywhere. He goes to rally with government vehicles, fueled by government. He goes everywhere. He lives in government property. No. If we must have to do it right, let it be across the board. Let everybody go to square one. If you don't mind, I can call it square zero. Let us start from there. So I believe that this is a good step. You cannot use government apparatus to enhance your electioneering capability. It is wrong. If you want to contest, go on the same level playing field with everybody. That is what I think it ought to be, Mr. C.
Now, Section 29, sub 1 of the law says that parties must conduct primaries and submit the list of candidates at least 180 days before the general elections. Section 65 states that INEC can review results declared under duress. Now, this is an interesting one. It's open for debate. Does it see manipulation being open for those who would want to manipulate the process? This particular section saying INEC can review results declared under duress. How good is this?
Let me explain to you why that came to. You remember what happened sometime in Abia State in 2015? After the elections, the INEC staffs were doing their collation in their offices. We were told that some officers of government and public office holders of government went in there and forced INEC to announce the result. We also are aware of what happened in Imo State, where we are told that the sitting governor went in there and forced them to announce him to be the senator-elect. The law says that once it is announced, you cannot reverse it until the courts sets in. The courts, you know the process of the courts. The more you have the money, the more you have the capacity to win. But what we're saying here, which I agree with them, is that if you point the gun at anybody and he announces result, When you remove your gun, who can change that result he has announced? That is simple. We're not going to allow it now to go to courts where you have the money to go and buy yourself through. I agree with that process. If you force any officer of the law to make a pronouncement that is at variance with the situation on ground, the honest situation, it should be changed. We don't have to let the courts change it. So I like that provision. And also I appreciate the provision of 180 days. That gives the leverage for people to go and tell the people what you can offer. It is not just waiting to when the time reaches you.
Okay, you mean the 180 days for political parties to
submit the list of their candidates. So the candidates will have enough time to commence the process of electioneering. Go to the hinterlands, go to the people, tell them what you can offer. And also tell them what you have done yesterday. So that from what you did yesterday, we can be able to know what you can do tomorrow. The problem we have is that we have leaders, we don't know what they have done yesterday, we don't know their capacity, we don't know their ability, and they come to run government. Don't forget a few minutes ago, Mr. C, you properly recounted that I ran 774 local governments as Secretary General. Is it 17 local governments in Abia cannot run? Well, I'm not trying to campaign right now, but I'm saying that if anybody is capable of running 774 local governments, what is 17 local governments? That is what we have to look at. We cannot bring people who don't know their pedigree. Anybody who can come and tell us they want to build 7-story building for us, let them show us 1-story building they have built before. If you can't build 1-story building, well, how can you build 7-story buildings? That is where we are, Mr. C. And I like this trajectory. I like this arrangement where the National Assembly, in realization of the problems we have today, they are making our laws to suit the proper things. Let there be integrity in our electioneering process.
Well, talking about campaigns, Section 94 allows for early commencement of the campaign season. And now by this provision, the campaign season will now start 150 days to the election day and end 24 hours before the election. So, I mean, the initial provision was 90 days to campaign.
That was not enough.
Parties were allowed 90 days.
That was not enough, Mr. C.
So 150 days is fine.
It's not even enough. If you check other climes, people are given a year. 1 full year, 365 days. Go to the people. Tell them what you... Let us keep away this fire service attitude to most of the things we do. If anybody is coming to seek a public office, let him go to the people, him or her go to the people and tell them, this is what I have done yesterday and this is what I intend to do tomorrow. The problem we have today is that those who go in there, we don't know them. Some of them are very hungry. Some of them don't even have homes in their places. And once you give them the public funds, they first of all start building their own homes. Most of them don't even have the basics. You cannot give somebody who does not have the capacity to generate 1 million naira billions to manage. He has not managed 1 million. He has not generated 1 million. How can he manage a billion? That is the problem we have. So let them go to the public. Tell the public what they can do. Tell the public what they have done yesterday. Let the public make their proper judgment. We are getting there slowly, Mr. C. This is what is happening around the world, the civilized world, where it is only those who have the capacity to deliver are given the job.
Isn't this still going to trigger this talk about monetization of election processes? Because, of course, we know how much it takes, how much is put in for these campaigns. Now, increasing the days, wouldn't it be more cost effective, you think?
Well, if you don't have money, if you can't make money, how can you manage money? If you don't have the capacity to generate money, how can you manage the ones generated? Let me be honest with you. I'm very forthright with you, Mr. C. The problem of Abia State is not the money; it is the management of the funds we have. For 8 years, P2B managed the affairs of Anambra State. He never borrowed 1 penny, never owed any civil servant, never owed pensioners, and left a whopping billions in the account. Look at what is happening in our neighboring state, Ebonyi. It is not the availability of the funds. Can you manage the ones you have properly? If you cannot manage it properly, no matter how amount of money given to you, you cannot manage it. That's the issue, Mr. C. So let us look at ensuring that we have enough time for people to go and tell the people. If you say you are intelligent, you have the capacity to deliver, you should also have those who can stake on you. If nobody can stake on you and you have no money, you better go to your house and stay. If you have the intellect to deliver, people will recognize that intellect and put their money for you. But if you don't have no money, you have no intellect, what are you bringing to the table? We must have to make sure that those who are going to manage our affairs, the finances of our state, are those who have made money themselves before and they have the understanding on how to spend money. If you don't carry the bucket on your head by yourself, you won't value the drops of water. It's only those who have carried the buckets will understand that water is precious. But what do we do today? We give to the hands, very wicked hands of those who have not generated anything for the society or even for themselves, billions to manage. They will mismanage it, and that is what we're having today.
So that's one fundamental criteria, as far as you're concerned, that Abian should look at.
Well, Abian should look at those who have, one, succeeded by themselves. If you can't succeed, how can you create success? It's only when you succeed you can create success. One young man who came to tell me the other day that he was...
But some might say success is relative.
Well, what I mean by success is infrastructural success. Let us not go spiritual. Let us talk about what we have on ground. Infrastructural success is feasible, is seen. It is not spiritual. It's not in the air. It's not anywhere. Anybody who is going to tell us that he is capable of building roads for us, let us see his antecedents. What has he done yesterday? That is the only way we can know what he can do tomorrow. If he has not done any much of a thing yesterday, I do not believe. It is only a gamble, and we have gambled enough. We can't gamble anymore.
Open Parliament. Yes, the midweek edition of the show. Family Love 99.9 FM, Magic 102.9 FM Aba. Not forgetting ABN Radio and TV. Chikwe Udensi, Interpol consultant and security expert, recipient of the Zeke Award on Innovation and Creativity, has been a guest, still a guest. My name is Mr. C. We'll do a break. Be right back. Stay tuned.
Is at it again. It's time for the Revisible and Political Leadership Project events in Nigeria. Get ready for the most detailed online TV and radio program tagged Operation Show Your Project. Operation Show Your Project. Showing every Thursday 11 a.m. on ABN TV and radio. Operation Show Your Project is the authentic platform for all elected and appointed leaders in politics at all levels to showcase their accomplishments within the period in office. For project documentation and production, contact us today on 0816-634-7017. On 0816-634-7017. Operation Show Your Project comes up every Thursday at 11 a.m. on ABN TV and radio. Be part of the testimony. ABN is at it again. It's time for the Revisible and Political Leadership Project events in Nigeria. Get ready for the most detailed online TV and radio program tagged Operation Show Your Project. Operation Show Your Project. Showing every Thursday 11 a.m. on ABN TV and radio. Operation Show Your Project is the authentic platform for all elected and appointed leaders in politics at all levels to showcase their accomplishments within the period in office. For project documentation and production, contact us today on 0816-634-7017. On 0816-634-7017. Operation Show Your Project comes up every Thursday at 11 a.m. on ABN TV and radio. Be part of the testimony. ABN is at it again. It's time for the real visible and political leadership project evidence in Nigeria. Get ready for the most detailed online TV and radio program tagged Operation Show Your Project. Operation Show Your Project. Showing every Thursday 11 a.m. on ABN TV and radio. Operation Show Your Project is the authentic platform for all elected and appointed leaders in politics at all levels to showcase their accomplishments within the period in office. For project documentation and production, contact us today on 0816-634-7017 or 0816-634-7017. Operation Show Your Project comes up every Thursday at 11 a.m. on ABN TV and radio. Be part of the testimony. ABN is at it again. It's time for the real visible and political leadership project evidence in Nigeria. Get ready for the most detailed online TV and radio program tagged Operation Show Your Project. Operation Show Your Project. Showing every Thursday 11 a.m. on ABN TV and radio. Operation Show Your Project is the authentic platform for all elected and appointed leaders in politics at all levels to showcase their accomplishments within the period in office. For project documentation and production, contact us today on 0816-634-7017 or 0816-634-7017. Operation Show Your Project comes up.
Many thanks for keeping it locked on Open Parliament this morning. The midweek edition of the show with your guest, Interpol consultant and security expert, Chikwe Udensi. My name is Mr. C. Don't forget, the frequency is Family Love 99.9 FM. You can also listen on ABN Radio and TV as well as Magic 102.9 FM in a bar. Well, we're dissecting the Electoral Act Amendment Bill signed into law last week by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, another interesting section in that particular law is Section 47 that gives legislative backing for smart card readers and any other voter accreditation technology that the Independent National Electoral Commission might want to deploy. How significant is that? Because before now, it appeared smart card readers were not given recognition, particularly by our court.
Yes, it is very significant, Mr. Z, especially where it has been given a legal backing. Don't forget the Supreme Court does not even allow electronic evidence, pictorial evidence. They're not allowed in law in some areas, especially where it does not cover some statutory conditions. It was not stamped by this man. It was not stamped by the other man. But today, it's a law now that electronically it can be presented in court. That this is a position electronically. And don't forget, Mr. C, that we are no more in the analog stage. We have gone digital. Everything has been digitalized. So it will be wrong for us not to follow suit with the rest of the world. So now it has been made clear that all electronic evidences, all electronic procedures, all electronic gadgets can be deployed by INEC to ensure the credibility and the sanctity of the process of our election here in the country.
Oh, well, would have you react to a certain comment you made recently with regards to, of course, in your reaction to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill signing by the President, you made reference to Obingwa local government area. Would have you react to that? But could you react a bit to other highlights, if you like?
There's so many highlights
of the Constitution review.
Okay, the Constitution review.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, there's so many of them, especially the autonomy of states and state legislature and judiciary. That one also passed. What it simply means is that states lawmakers or the state legislature has the financial autonomy. They will get their money directly from allocation without being hindered by the government. do not forget that most of the problems we have today in the judiciary and the legislature is the control of the executive. Executive has overbearing control of the legislature and the judiciary. So, and this control is all about money. If you get their money directly, you're not going to control anybody. They will do what is right within the ambits of the law. So this is beautiful. Let all arms of government, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature, let them get their monies directly. What we have today is unfortunate. What do we have? The money comes to the executive. Executive decides who they give or who they do not give. And if you don't smile good enough to them, they will not give you. But if you are kind enough to them, they will give you. So that creates a very great lacuna to the ambits of democracy. It creates a big problem. One arm of government stifling other arms of government, suffocating other arms of government. That is what this law is trying to stop. Don't also forget that we have the other one that has to do with the prisons. Before now, the prisons have been in the exclusive list. What I mean by exclusive list is that only the federal government can adjudicate on matters that have to do with prisons, whether it is the administration of prisons or even the provisions of infrastructure for the prisons. But now, with this amendment of the Constitution, it has gone into the concurrent list. So the three arms of government, the three spheres of government can effectively, state, federal, and local government, can look into the area of prisons. The prison reforms is very important. Have you gone to our prisons, Mr. C? If you go to our prisons, you see that it is not correctional institutes. The institutions there is not correctional. It is I don't know. It makes the person worse than he was before he entered there. What we ought to have is not penitentiary. We ought to have correctional institutions where one is sent into hibernation, out of the society for a period of time, for him or her to change and be a better person when he comes out. But what we have today is different, because it is under the ambit of one government, federal government. Let states, let local governments contribute to ensure we have correctional centers and not necessarily where people are meant to suffer. Also, the railway. The railway is also in the exclusive list. With this amendment now, it goes to the concurrent list. And once it gets to the concurrent list, states can now have rail transportation systems, like Lagos State government has initiated severally. And these are the areas, what they have done that people are so much happy about. Anybody who is criticizing this National Assembly, they're not doing a lot of things, a lot of good to the country.
Okay.
This National Assembly have done a great job.
So as far as you're concerned,
as far as I'm concerned,
it's highly commendable.
In one area that everybody was angry about was in the affirmative action for women.
Oh yeah. There's been this talk about the 35% affirmative action for women.
They rejected it. Overwhelmingly. Don't forget that we have a lot of chauvinistic men in the National Assembly, old men who don't think women have rights at all. It's unfortunate. Why must they reject that? What we're asking for is that, listen, as much as we realize that men have the money essentially to do the bidding of electioneering, let us allow women to also have some level of acceptance, some level of involvement. 35% is not much, but it was overwhelmingly rejected by the National Assembly. Those old men, they are not doing us a word of favor when it has to do with gender issues, and they still have this very old attitude that, listen, women don't have to do much in a society. Time has changed. Women are doing a whole lot more. If you check around the world where women are presidents, prime ministers, They are doing great. The greatness of Israel was when Golda Meir was the prime minister. It's a woman. And she engendered enormous security network for Israel. If you look at the history of Israeli capacities when it has to do with their own defense and also intelligence, it has to do with the time when Golda Meir set the basic foundation for Israel to be what it is today. So let us not put women down. You saw how this economy of this country was to a large extent blossomed when our sister Okonjo-Iweala was there. When several women who have shown enormous wits in all spheres of life, we shouldn't bring them down. We should give them opportunity. In that area, I score the National Assembly very low.
Okay, so that's the only reservation you have about the work they have been doing so far?
That's the only one that I was happy when they rejected also the VAT issue. They rejected it. Another one I was quite impressed and interested in was the electricity supply, generation, distribution, and funding of electricity in the country. I'm so glad that it has moved from the exclusive list to the concurrent list. Let us allow states to generate their power. Power is important. Power is life. If you don't have power, you can't do much. If you don't have power, you can't even industrialize. Without power, you cannot create the necessary infrastructures that are required. Without power, most businesses are stifled. So I'm very glad about the electricity amendment, where now it has moved from the exclusive list to the concurrent list.
Okay, well, we're going to leave it there for the constitution review and all the process that have followed because of time and because we need you to react to the comments you made recently in reaction to the signing into law by the President of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, because you did make allusions to Obingwa local government area, and that elicited a reaction from the executive chairman of the local government, Honorable Michael Ibenwoko. He called you out for citing his local government as a vote manufacturing center. What were you trying to say in reference to Obingwa?
Well, actually, I was not targeting Obingwa. Obingwa was more or less an acronym. It was more or less an acronym for vote manufacturing in our system in Abia State. It's not that it is actually Obingwa per se, but it is what kind of expression of language is that supposed to be? It's a synonym of what happened in our electoral system not too long ago. The 82,000 votes that came from Obingwa, you and I know it's not true. In fact, from the records we have, I had to do a very solid investigation to find out what actually happened. The actual number of votes cast there was about 22,000. It wasn't 82,000. So it became an albatross for us. It became a problem for us. It was a mistake that was made. But we're saying, hey, thank God we have a neural system where it will be impossible. It will be difficult. No, I wouldn't say impossible. It will be difficult for you to manufacture figures. So, because it happened in Obingwa, that was why I made reference to Obingwa. That does not mean people in Obingwa are bad people. No, I have very good friends in Obingwa. The chairman himself is a member of Algon, don't forget. And once I was Secretary General, I remain a member of the association. So, the chairman there, I cannot bring him to disrepute. No, I cannot bring Obingwa to disrepute. No, but it happened in Obingwa. So Obingwa was the area where it happened. That's why I made reference there. And I hope I didn't intend to hurt anybody in that process.
Okay, so let's get to have a reaction from you who is listening. Yes, you know you can. And these are the phone numbers: 0816 1115 955 or 07016 514107. And yeah, before we get there, just to have a ponder on this, with bickering with regards to the Abia Charter of Equity and who and where the person should come from that would succeed the governor of Abia State. There's this talk about the Abia Charter of Equity importing the distribution of power, the number one seat, that is, from the 3 senatorial zones, and whereas the other persons who are defining it to the 2 blocks that existed. We would have a look at that in the light of a comment by President of the Supreme Council of Okwango Youth, Mr. Daniel Van. Incidentally, we had him on the show yesterday as well. But in the meantime, let's take the calls. What do we have first? Good morning to you. Welcome to Open Parliament.
Good morning, Mr. C.
Good morning, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chikwe Udensi.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, my name is Ubonna Eric, and I'm calling you from Umobia in Olokuro.
Welcome. Let's have you use 1 minute.
Yes, in fact, it may not even be up to 1 minute. I am just saying, as much as we appreciate what the current National Assembly is doing, to me, that is what we call miniature or retailing of restructuring. Why don't we insist that we do one full-scale, wholesale restructuring of the nation, and then we'll move ahead? Because this one they are doing today, you do electoral amendment. Tomorrow you do local government autonomy. The next day you do financial autonomy. The next day you do railway autonomy. Why don't we, once for all, do wholesale restructuring of this Nigeria, and then we'll move forward as a nation? That would help us better, instead of giving them 2 months, that 5 months, everyone let 2 miles they cover.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Appreciate Eric. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. C.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. Chikwe Udensi.
Thank you. Good
My
morning.
name is Enoch Chibukuru, a native of Okulukumo Sulu. Nigeria has so many laws. Some need to be changed, others need to be amended, and yet others need to be consolidated. But one major problem with our laws, with so many laws, is lack of implementation. In my own opinion, there is a serious urgent need to amend in the draft law that if a public office holder embezzles public funds, if substantiated, he must be made to report it all. They are fine, but it is determined whether they are taken or not.
Okay.
But that such a criminal is only incarcerated in few cases without having the fund recovered from him.
All right.
This looters each country to go into it with reckless abandon, since they will come out to enjoy it later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate. Well, the point you were making there, though, the talk of that's what they call it. We'll get to that word in a bit, but let's still do the phone lines. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. P. Good morning, Mr. Chikwe Udensi.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, my name is Excellent. I'm that great prophet from Onimo. Yeah.
1 minute to go.
Mr. Chikwe Udensi has spoken well. You know, Adams is somebody that will give dividends of democracy, and the reprieve all that have been stolen from this government is what Adams needs now. We don't need person that gives only dividends of this democracy. We need person that gives dividends of democracy and to repeat all. When I mean all, I mean 105% of what they have stolen. Others are suffering. You see, I did kudos to Yoruba that now brought you to start paying salary. Please, this time around, others are wiser. We are suffering for kindness. If we talk, they start attacking us. God will bless you for what you have been doing, and we keep on doing that. But others are wiser now.
Okay.
This election can never be riggable for like. Yeah, I did kudos to a Yoruba. Remember blessed at today. You are lifted.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, what I was looking for was plea bargaining, where you're discovered to have stolen a certain amount of money, say 100 million, for instance, and you're given the opportunity to return some, whereas you have the leverage to enjoy the rest. I think that was the comments he was trying to make there. But we'll have you react as a summation. Let's still do the phone lines. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. C.
Good morning, please.
Yeah, my name is Mr. Madu Edward, editor-in-chief, Lion Pillar. This morning, Lion Pillar is calling from Ofoboto and the Chicken.
1 minute.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chikwe Udensi.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Please, I'm so much happy over what you said concerning correction center in Nigeria. There's no correction center. As you said, to water down how it will be before somebody entered.
Nigeria government doesn't have any concern. I don't look at party. But I won't tell you, the party involved these days, there has nothing to show. Like as what you said, if somebody who say you want to build a story building, you look about what he has already done. Where has it started before promising to build? Nigeria APC doesn't have anything that they will build for us. Like if you come to the constitutional amendment as they did now, when they did it, look, a lot of things need to be corrected to that constitution. They don't talk about the senators who is there chopping money without anything.
Okay,
so I thank you for your illustration, and Nigeria has nowhere to go.
Let's leave it there. Nigeria has somewhere to go. Wouldn't agree with that. But let's do this call. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Sheikh.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Chikwe Udensi.
Mr. Bilo, how are you?
Let me give you 30 seconds.
Thank you. So Chikwe Udensi, I beg, whenever I listen to you, I'm very happy because almost nothing they talk. But waiting out I need. What I want to ask you, because people don't hear say they want to trade them on all these petty. Which time they start them? Because I know they call me. Which time they start them? Because like, the kind of you want to hear father now. This kind of way they do.
Okay.
There's one else. People will suffer. I beg, make you tell them, make them hear best. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Oh well. Time to react to the views.
First and foremost, we must continue with reviewing our laws. Reviewing our laws is very, very, very important. It's very revolutionary. There was an area you were trying to talk about, the Abia Charter of Equity. Maybe we are going to keep it for another day.
Oh well, maybe we should start with that next week.
Yes, okay, next week.
It's a continuing conversation.
Yes, but for now, we should review our laws, make sure our laws are in tandem with existing realities. We can't use laws that are made over 50 years ago for the situations today. We must have to change our laws, and that's very, very important, Mr. C. As for Mr. Yerioba, we have just finished the palliatives for pensioners. This first phase, we still have more phases to go for pensioners. There are so many pensioners that were not covered, so I'm still going to cover them. But by next week we are starting with petty trader welfare. We are going to go to 17 local governments and make sure petty traders, we put a little bit of smile in their faces. That's what we're going to do from next week.
Okay. So, Abians, there you go. Open Parliament, that's the size. Apologies, wouldn't take all your calls, but would follow through next week. Our guest has been Interpol consultant and security expert, a recipient of the Zik Award on Innovation and Creativity, Chikwe Udensi. Thanks so much for stopping by live in the studio this morning.
Thanks for having me, Mr. C. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for being a part listener, and thanks for your listenership. We'll do this again, same time, same station next week. And don't forget, it came to you via the frequency of Family Love 99.9 FM, and of course, Magic 102.9 FM in Aba, as well as ABN Radio and TV. My name is Mr. C. 10. It's time for the news.